Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today, we are diving into what is, without a doubt, the most important first step in any nursing research, actually crafting your research problem. You can think of it as the blueprint for your entire study. Seriously, if you get this part right, everything that follows just clicks into place. It really does all start with a simple question. From Florence Nightingale figuring out why soldiers were dying to the evidence-based practices we use today, every single breakthrough began because someone looked at a situation and asked, why is this happening? Or what if we did this differently? But the real challenge, and what we're going to dig into today, is how do you find your question, the one that could actually make a real difference? So, where do these big, game-changing questions even come from? Well, it's probably not as mysterious as you think. It all kicks off with something we can call a research spark, that first kind of broad area of interest that just grabs you. At its heart, a research problem is really all about a gap. It's that space between what is currently happening in practice and what should be happening to give our patients the absolute best care. Your job, as the researcher, is to build a bridge of knowledge right across that gap. And this, right here, really demystifies the whole process. See, great research ideas don't just pop out of thin air in an ivory tower. They come from the real world. You know that nagging little issue you see on your unit every day? The one everyone complains about but no one's really fixed? Yep, that's a potential research problem. Or that question that pops into your head while you're reading a journal article? That's one too. Even just a gut feeling, your own intuition, can be the start of a really powerful investigation. Okay, so once you have that initial spark, you can't just sprint off with it. The next, absolutely critical step is to find out what's already known about it. This is where you've got to do your homework, and that means a literature review. A literature review is so much more than just a book report. Think of it as your map of the existing territory. It helps you avoid reinventing the wheel, for sure, but way more importantly, it shows you the edges of that map, the exact spots where your research can make a new, unique contribution. You're basically hunting for those gaps in the knowledge that your study is going to fill. This quote just nails it. A lit review isn't about passively reading. It's an active, critical analysis. You're not just collecting a pile of facts. You're evaluating arguments, clarifying fuzzy concepts, and actually building the theoretical foundation that your entire study is going to stand on. All right, so you've got your spark and you've done your background reading. Now, you probably have this really big, broad idea. The next stage is all about focus. I want you to picture a funnel, taking you from that wide-open topic all the way down to a specific, totally manageable problem. Let's walk through how it works. So we're starting at the very top of the funnel with something that's huge and obviously important, but way too big for any single study. Patient falls in hospitals. We all know this is a massive issue, but what specific part of it can we actually study? Now, we take that first step down the funnel. We start to narrow it down. We're not looking at all patients anymore. We're focusing specifically on elderly patients. And we're not just looking at falls in general, but at prevention strategies. See? It's already getting much clearer. And boom, here we are at the very bottom of the funnel. A precise, testable problem. We've defined the specific intervention, hourly rounding, the outcome, full rates, the population, elderly patients, and even the setting, an orthopedic unit. That is a researchable problem. But wait, before you commit all your time and energy, you've got to put your beautifully focused problem through one final test. This is the ultimate reality check to make sure your great idea is also a good research problem. So you've really got to ask yourself these 4 questions. First, is it significant? Will the answer actually matter? Will it improve care or change policy? Second, is it researchable? Can you investigate this with data, not just your opinion? Third, is it feasible? I mean, realistically, do you have the time, the money, and the access to make it happen? And last but definitely not least, are you actually interested in it? Because that passion is what's going to get you through the tough spots. Let's just zoom in on researchability for a second, because this is key. A question like, should nurses join unions? Well, that's a really important ethical debate, but you can't answer it with data. But you can reframe it into something you can measure, like asking about its impact on job satisfaction. See the difference? That's a researchable question. And feasibility. Well, this is where the rubber meets the road. It's all about the practical stuff. You could have the most significant, brilliant question in the entire world, but if you don't have the time or the funding or access to participants, it's just never going to happen. You have to be brutally honest with yourself about what's actually possible. Okay, so you did it. You have an idea that's significant, it's researchable, it's feasible, and you're genuinely excited about it. The very last step in this whole process is to formally write it all down as a crystal clear, concise problem statement. Generally, you've got two main ways to phrase it. You can write it as a declaration, a straightforward statement of what the study is going to do, or you can frame it as a question, the very thing you're trying to answer. Honestly, both are perfectly fine. The choice usually just comes down to what style fits best with your research. A really strong problem statement has a clear anatomy. It absolutely needs to spell out your variables. That is, the thing you're changing or introducing, which is the independent variable, and the thing you're measuring as a result, the dependent variable. It also has to specify your population and setting, and it has to be written in simple, unambiguous language. When someone reads it, there should be zero question about what your study is investigating. And one last super important piece for clarity is the operational definition. It is not enough to just say you're studying pain. You have to define exactly how you will measure it. Is it a score on a 1 to 10 scale? Is it a specific behavior you're observing? This kind of precision makes sure that anyone who reads your study knows exactly what you mean and exactly how you measured it. And that brings us right to the end. We've journeyed all the way from a vague little spark of an idea to a polished, actionable research problem. The process itself is systematic, yeah? But the potential is just limitless. Every single study, no matter how big or how small, truly has the power to add another piece to the puzzle to lead to better patient outcomes. So the only thing left to ask is, what question will you ask?